podcast.
This is segment 2 of Meet Mike Budge. It's never too late to change your brain. So we'll say goodbye to Nick, and Mike will join us again. I'm going to flip through our PowerPoint. We finished hearing about Mike's school days and in our last podcast, and his athletics and his challenges with teachers and all the number of friends he had, the big number of friends and support he had with friends. But now we're on to, he's graduated from high school, and I'm trying to stay on the screen, Mike.
Okay. Okay.
I keep leaning the wrong way.
I pushed you over. Okay.
Anyway, okay. So, Mike, you left off after you had graduated from high school, and then you said that a lot of people, you realized that there's definitely some kind of problem. And that you visited a few psychologists, and they told you to grow up, to blow it off, to relax. Anything else?
Just simple thing. Yeah. Then I read from then on too. I read a lot of self-help books, and quite a few of those, and they just kind of a dead end too. They just didn't help me much. For a couple of days they might help. For a week they might help out, or even a psychologist for a week or something. You felt a little better, but they just never would last. And that's what was frustrating for me.
How many books did you read?
Well, I estimate, I can't remember how many, but about 50 of them. And you got to remember, I can't read real well, so that took a long time, to do that. It was hard for me to read and concentrate,
And as I've trained Mike, one thing that's interesting is his like we mentioned in the last podcast, auditory processing, and his ability to hear sounds. The only way we really identified this could be his biggest challenge was the fact that when we were going through the letters of the alphabet and just learning the individual phonemes, there were some that he really couldn't hear. There were some sounds that we had to repeat over and over and over and over and do additional exercises on with electronic exercises. We'll tell you about those down the road, but to work that part of his brain that wasn't processing the information and sound. So if you take the ability of a young child to be able to hear the individual sound in words and to be able to identify sounds and give them a name, and a struggle with that, and not recognizing that as a child, and then going through life having a difficulty processing incoming information, language, and even reading. You said
reading was
even
hard.
reading 50 books, self-help books, but struggling to focus and give meaning to the individual letters and the words, and then putting them all together. That's a brain processing
it was hard
skill that Mike didn't realize that could be part of his challenge. So that's really significant, that comment about reading. It's not easy, it's labor kind of to read.
Yeah, it's really hard. It's really hard to do it.
Okay. Okay, let's continue now. So you went to you had visited these two psychologists shortly after high school, and then go ahead from there.
Okay. Then I decided to go on a mission. I'm an LDS, or I'm a Mormon, and normally when we're 19 years old, we go on missions, and all my friends were leaving on missions, and I didn't want to be left behind. I realized I had a problem then, and I was afraid to go on a mission with the problem I had, this auditory problem. So I thought, well, I don't want to be left behind. So, and also our church encourages the young boys. They put a little pressure sometimes, on you to go on a mission. And so I decided to go on the mission. I went on my mission to England, and it was hard for me again. The same story I told you about in school. I had the same problem on the mission. We have to learn some lessons to give to our prospective clients, like I call them clients. But anyway, I had a rough time learning those lessons. I think, if I remember right, there was 8 of them or something, and I could just barely get through the first one because I just couldn't concentrate, and it was really frustrating for me. And some of the people in the mission field thought, well, I was lazy, I didn't want to do it, but I tried really hard, and I had a little success, but it was hard for me.
That's another good point that you make, that often those that have learning challenges, people identify them as lazy or unmotivated.
Yeah, I've been told that a lot of times. I was lazy sometimes on that, and that was really frustrating.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah. And then, okay, after my mission, let's see, I got to look at my notes here just a second.
That's fine.
Okay. In fact, go ahead.
Let's comment on this picture, because this is kind of a fun picture.
Yeah.
And this is you right here, right?
Right. This is me right there. Well, the one with the sunglasses on.
The one with the sunglasses that looks like he's having the time of his life.
Yeah.
But that really wasn't the case.
Yeah, that wasn't me. That was a fake. That was the bogus Mike right there. I was acting like I was having a lot of fun, but I wasn't. I was in a lot of anxiety, and it wasn't a happy time for me, and I got to admit that. I just struggled on the mission, and so.
Did you ever feel like you wanted to give up and come home?
Yes. It was hard for me. In fact, I got a lot of headaches. When I try too hard, I get headaches. And I got a lot of headaches. I took a lot of aspirins, on the mission field, but I saw some success, and it was worth it. The people I baptized, it was worth the pain, I guess, to do that. So.
Well, and so another comment about this. So, Mike, I asked you if you ever wanted to give up and go home, and he said yes, and a lot of missionaries feel like that at some point in those 2 years. But one thing about Mike is he never gives up. So I said, is it okay if we talk about how old you are? How old are you, Mike?
I'm 67. I'll be 68 in February 2nd. February 2nd is my birthday.
So, a lot of people by your age would have just decided, this is just life and who I am, and I'll just muddle through.
Right.
But it was really impressive, amazing to me, Mike's, after having 67 good but challenging years, that he's still doing what it takes to make a difference and improve his well-being.
Right. Okay. Thanks. Then why we brought that up too is that my problems start when I was young. From about 6 years old, and some people say, "How can you remember that?" But I remember it exactly. And
so he also has a great long-term memory, because I'm trying to think back in my kindergarten days, and do I remember the detail? It could be that it was such a poignant experience for you because it was so emotionally overwhelming that's a reason. But he remembers a lot of detail from his great long-term memory.
And the part of the problem, part of the reason I'm doing this podcast too is that there's probably millions of people all over the United States, probably, or the world, that has the same problem I got, at a young age, and they don't realize there's help, to get help, and I'm glad I'm getting some help now on it, and I wish, I told you this before, I wish I had some when I was younger, but that's under the bridge. And then I know there's a lot of older people too that when they get 60 or 70 years old, the similar problem comes. It's really, it's almost identical to my problem. They start to lose their memory a little bit, and they start to can't think real well, and they don't get help. They can go get help. There's help available. They don't have to suffer until they're 80 or 90 years old, and then they die. Like that. They can get help right now. So,
great. Thanks, Mike. Okay, so mission, after your mission.
Okay. Well, I'm talking about the mission. I prayed a lot, this problem, and throughout my life, because I needed help, I was struggling all the time, and I didn't feel, at one time I was a little disappointed that my prayers weren't answered, I kept thinking, well, I've struggled, 50 something years, and I still suffer from it, why can't somebody help me up there, and and anyway, then I read one time, that God has his own rules, laws that he has to follow, so there's some reason that, and maybe it's because I'm helping right now with people. I don't know what the reason was, but anyway, don't get discouraged, just keep going. And then after my mission, I went to some psychologists again and had the same dead end street there. And I'm sure some psychologists do some good for some people, depending on the problem, but my problem, it was way off, And then I met my wife, Cindy, Cindy Budge, and she was just she's what helped me through all these years now. And in fact, I think it was God sent that she came to me to help me through those years.
Yeah.
A lot of years we've been married, and there's been, I've had that problem all through my married life. At work and at play and anything like that, I still had that problem. It wasn't too a year ago actually that I suffered from this. I'm 60, almost 66 years old then, and I suffered from it still. And then I read in the Herald Journal one day about, I think it was 2 or 3 years ago actually. I read in the Herald Journal and it talked about Melanie and her program. What was it called? Plasticity?
Oh, neurofeedback. Well, it's probably a neurofeedback.
Neurofeedback. Okay, then.
Yeah.
It was neurofeedback, and that there is help for people out there. And then I thought, oh, maybe I ought to take that. And then and I thought about it. I talked to her and went to some class, some demo things, and all that. And then I never did it for about a year. And the reason I wrote it down on a list of why I didn't, and why I didn't get help. And and everybody will go through this too. If you think about it, you'll go through the same problem. And I felt that it was too scary to change from an anxious person to a normal person. I thought that's a problem. Thinking that I'm very anxious. It's scary to change, make a change, big change like that. It's a big change, and then it might cost a lot. It's a lot of money. It might cost a lot of money. And everybody's a little tight with their money sometimes. And what if it doesn't work? What if I waste my money? Like that. All these thoughts, negative thoughts are going through my mind. And what if my friends find out? I thought maybe I'll be going to a class one time, one of these training things, and maybe I'll run into my buddy or something. And how embarrassing that would be. That was another negative thing I thought. Then their spouse, you have a spouse, everybody has a spouse, or normally. But what will they think? Will they think, oh, it's a waste of money? Oh, just you ought to think, start relaxing. You'll do okay. Just relax. Don't spend that much money to help you to relax. But and then finally, I got the courage to call Melanie, and that was that took a lot of courage. To call and get help, and I'm glad I did. And she's helped me a lot. And we'll talk about our next pod, how she's helped me a lot. And let me look one more thing here. Let's see. That's about it. If I could, you want to say anything?
Yeah. So I want to, Mike, go back a little bit to your adult years after your mission. You met Cindy. You went to, let's see, you went to LDS Business College. Or she did.
Oh, she went to LDS Business School, and I went to Snow College, played football for Snow College.
That's right. Okay.
Before I went on the mission.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay, so but then I'm going to show you this next picture. This is so impressive. Okay. This is the Budge crew.
Yeah.
Wow, look at this family. You can see Mike and Cindy there in the center. How many children do you have?
We had 6 children, 3 boys and 3 girls.
And how many grandchildren do you have?
Oh, I think right now, this picture, I think we had about 17. I'm not sure. I can't. Somebody's going to catch me on this probably. My wife will. And then I think we got close to 20 now.
Very good.
Yeah. And just think about that. A guy with audio problems can do this,
Yeah. And the interesting thing was, so Mike had this learning challenge and brain challenge, and he had a wonderful posterity. He has a wonderful posterity and family. But I thought it was really interesting, and maybe we'll take a minute or two to how you supported this family, because you told me a little bit about we already know that Mike, people were drawn to him, and that he had a lot of friends, and he was elected to a lot of things in high school, but he was also, he did very well as a salesman, right?
I got along with people and liked people, and I sold industrial supplies for years for a couple of companies. In fact, I had one company at first I owned, but I was able to communicate with these people, and I think I did pretty good. it was still struggle though. I still suffered, learning pamphlets, learning about products. It was awful, to learn all those things, and have this problem. This problem always was thorn in my back,
You told me how you, when you were doing the bearings and how you would work, figure it out, how you would, instead of reading the manuals, you told me this earlier.
Oh, yeah.
You would spend a lot of time manually working through.
I'm going to agree with that. Where I couldn't concentrate real well and read instructions, with this problem I had, I would just mentally, logically, what things happen. I started just doing things on my own and just physically trying them out. There's a problem, I would take a bearing apart and see why it broke down. Mm-hmm. And so mechanically, I was pretty good at that.
Yeah.
But when I had to read something, it was really hard to read. Yeah.
And I noticed that about Mike when he would come to my door, he could find, we have a light out front, our mailbox light post. Mm-hmm. Yeah. The light has been on probably for 10 years.
10 years. It cost
or longer, 12 years.
It cost you $50,000.
And we just thought, well, it's not a big deal. That just, Anyway, Mike started to solve lots of little problems just from walking from my driveway to my front door. When the door would stick, he'd look at me saying, "This is your problem, Melanie."
What's the problem?
You either fix it or I will.
Yeah. It's still broke too.
Yeah. It's doing better though, because I did what you told me to do.
Oh, you did?
I did.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't notice. I'm sorry. Okay.
It doesn't stick like that anymore.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Sometimes we just get used to things that we don't realize we can do something about.
Okay.
So I'm learning that from Mike too.
Okay.
Okay, so we see that Mike has had a full life, and we're going to end this segment. In our next segment, if you're interested in some of the things that Mike's actually been doing, training with me, but also things that he's been doing on his own at home that any family can afford and do to help themselves and those they love, then come join us for the next segment, our final last segment with Mike Budge, as he tells about that experience just a little. So we'll sign out now for a few minutes, and then we'll be back.